Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Chris O'Rourke, as we continue our special series, Conversations on COVID-19. And it is a big day in Montour County and Snyder County today, and we're doing this on Friday, May 29th, because those two counties have been moved into the green phase, so to speak. And we are joined today by Tom Beiter, one of the owners of Beiter's in downtown Danville. One of the counties. Danville's, of course, in Montour County, one of the counties that's in green today. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, thanks, Chris.
So how far, you guys have been in green so far this morning. How has it been going?
I think it's been going fine. We really have not seen a real big change. We've been open since the 8th of May, our store. So not a big change one way or the other today.
So there isn't really any big distinguishing change between yellow and green for you guys?
For us, no. We've maintained all of the same safety protocols that we've had going all along. Our staff and our customers are all still wearing masks and social distancing. So for us, for our operation, we're pretty much moving along under the same set of rules and regulations that we had under yellow.
Okay, so but at this point, you would not consider the store even remotely close to being back to normal?
No, I would agree, and I think it'll be some time before we see the masks disappear, and we see the plastic barriers disappear and those sorts of things.
So how much of I'm curious for businesses, how much of a learning curve was involved in picking up on all the nuances of the whole red, yellow, and green system? And how were you able to do that on your own? Did you have to turn to help for anywhere?
We were able to do that on our own. The state has a website available that lays out all of those regulations for all of the various industries, which for us ran, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 pages long in terms of all of the things that we were expected to do. But those resources were available. I'm sure that the Danville Business Alliance is also there for the people who have questions, and I'm sure that Snyder County also has organizations like that are available to businesses who have questions.
Did you have to jump through a lot of hoops to comply with the yellow and green? Did it take a lot of effort and work on your part to tailor your store to meet those specifications?
For us, it really did not. We did not close immediately back in March, and so a lot of the safety and cleaning protocols and barrier protocols that were later mandated, we already had up and running before we had closed in early April. We didn't have a great difficulty doing that, and a lot of it really is common sense and logic. There's not really anything in the laws that comes as a real shocker.
So, so what was your reaction back in March when things started to head south? And did you realize even then, like March 16th, roughly the time, what the implications were for your business?
Not at all. I don't know that anybody really did back in March. Things happened so quickly. Various industries and the universities and the schools, everything all sort of happened at once, and I don't think really anybody had any clear idea what was happening, including the leadership at the state level, who I think this all dragged on longer than originally anticipated.
Did you guys have to make changes at the store overnight?
What do you mean by overnight?
Well, I mean, because you guys were considered, as you said, before we started the interview, you were considered an essential business. Did you have to make any changes right away to the way you did your business?
I think at the beginning it all sort of was very haphazard. It was sort of, as we were moving along, the changes were not all implemented at the same time. The guidance at that stage of the game from the state was very thin. We were trying to use our logic and follow the news media and see what other industries were doing. So no, it didn't all happen at once. I think for those people who are now opening up, there is a plan laid out for them. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That happens during these interviews. So in the short term there, Tom, Whoops. Okay.
That's okay. I'm just getting it out of here, so it's ringing in another room.
That's okay. So in the short term, you guys were open for a little bit, but then you made a decision along the way, didn't you?
Yes, we were open all the way up until I believe it was the 4th of April, which is when cases in Montour County hit a real spike. Um, and honestly, my crew was not comfortable being there at that point in time, and we did not have at that point in time all of the safety regulations or even recommendations in place. That was before the mask recommendation came out. Um, we did have plastic barriers and things like that already erected in some places. Um, but with the sudden spike, I believe we had 10 in one day in Montour County, um, which was very alarming. And so we decided at that point in time to close the doors and wait until given the go ahead from Harrisburg.
So that's quite a decision to make for you. How many employees are we talking about, first off?
We have about 17.
So they essentially chose, I'm assuming, to be furloughed for however long a period of time it was until you could reopen again in what they considered to be a safer manner.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Um, so how have things, so things ran pretty smoothly when you started back up on May 8th.
Correct. Yep, we have our full contingent up. Of my regular crew, I had one person who chose to retire, which came as no surprise. She'd been talking about that since last year. And I have somebody else who took the summer off, which was planned. But other than that, my entire crew is back and up and running full schedule.
And how has the public support been for you guys once you reopened on May 8th?
It was very strong and very gratifying in a lot of ways. We heard from so many people in the early days just how happy they were to have the store open to be able to walk back through those doors again.
And business has been good since then.
Business has been very strong.
Do you think you took much of a financial hit during the 5 weeks when you were down?
Well, obviously, and anytime a business closes its doors, there's going to be a financial hit. I think that the how bad it's going to be, or ultimately what the end result is going to be, probably will play out over the course of the rest of the year. The financial hit for us is not something that's life threatening by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but again, I don't think that the full picture will be really known until we ride out the whole year.
And you expect pretty much to be in green and the specifications that come with it for the foreseeable future.
That would be, I think, the best case scenario. I don't see the governor. I honestly don't see the governor lifting the green restrictions until there's a vaccine, and the most optimistic of that still puts that many, many months in the future. Um, Worst case scenario is that we would see a bump in cases, and he would downgrade us back to yellow or red.
Okay. One thing we've been asking our interviewees at the end of each interview is how are you dealing with this personally? So, Tom, how have you handled this over the past 2 months?
Um, I don't know. That's an interesting question. Uh, during the time that the store was closed, I was in the building every day, but I basically went from here to there like everybody else. I was pretty much a stay at home. Um, from a personal basis, the biggest adjustment for us was suddenly having two college students and a high school student all working out of the house again, attempting to complete their courseworks from three different institutions on different schedules. Um, and having my wife suddenly, now working, she's always worked from home, but now working remotely from home on the computer. So that was really probably the biggest change for us, was just that whole figuring out how the family is going to operate together, all of a sudden thrown into a situation where they're sharing resources in a way we never had to before.
Now, Beiter's has been at its location on Mill Street in Danville for how long?
43 years in February.
Wow. And I'm sure you and your father have, obviously, you've been through floods, but you probably have never experienced anything like this.
Absolutely not. And honestly, although we took on water in 2011, the flood was far less disruptive than COVID-19 has been.
Okay. Tom Beiter from Beiter's in downtown Danville, thank you very much for your time today, and I hope it's all green from here for you guys.
All right. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Okay. And we will be right back.